Hey, this is Pastor Matt here at Fellowship Baptist Church, and I want to offer you some help this week as you consider what to study in your family devotions, or for your teenagers thinking about what to study in the Bible. I want to offer you some help. So this week at Youth Night, I preached a message on Acts chapter 2, verses 32 through 42, and we found this amazing story of the boldness of Peter. But you know, in our culture today, what we often find as Christ followers is this temptation to forget the main goal of our faith, and that's to grow spiritually and to glorify God. Those are two things that God commands us, and it tells us that we should do. And often in our culture, what we find ourselves doing is simply arguing with others just to win the argument. There's no point other than we want to crush their opinion and view. Or we find ourselves trying to fit into the culture because maybe we're shy or we're afraid. We don't want to be a light to others. And so we try to fit in along with what the culture is doing. But we find this amazing example in Peter of him doing neither of those. It's awesome. I want to read to you verse 36. Again, we're in Acts chapter 2, verse 36. He says, "Therefore let all the house of Israel know for certain that God has made him both Lord and Christ, this Jesus whom you crucified." So here we have Peter, which, if you know Peter, before Jesus' crucifixion, Peter's the guy who stood up and told Jesus, I will be with you to the end. You know, I will never abandon you. I'm going to be right there. Even if we face death, I'm right there with you, Jesus. So we know this is Peter. We then know that Peter, when Jesus was being arrested, he cut off the ear of one of the soldiers, and then we cut off the ear, he ran. And so again, his bold claim, he left that and he ran away. And Jesus, we know, healed the soldier and demonstrated love even for those who were coming to crucify him or arrest him, demonstrating love for them. And we also see Peter, this is the same guy who denied Jesus 3 times. You know, and Jesus warned him about this, but Peter saying, "No, there's no way I would do that, Jesus." And we know that he did, even to the point of saying, I don't even want to identify with Jesus in any way. And so again, we find this same Peter, though, after experiencing Christ, seeing his resurrection after the Pentecost, and this is where we find ourselves now at this situation. But we see him in verse 36 declaring to this Jewish population of who Jesus is. But what's amazing here is Peter isn't doing this out of a sense of anger. He's not doing it to crush others. He's not doing it out of fear. He's doing it because Christ has changed him, because he desires to see God glorified. And he's doing it because of his love for others. Again, amazing example in here of Peter and how God has changed him and how he has changed even his attitude and his approach to others. Again, awesome example in Acts chapter 2. If you never read that story, I'd encourage you to read even the chapter before, 1 and 2, would you get a grasp of what's happening here. But in this story, what we find a reminder is that when we stand in the culture, we must always point to Christ. No matter what issue we're fighting or standing against or arguing against or taking some form of stand in some way for something of truth, we should always point to Christ and the Word of God, making sure that we're doing it based on His Word, doing it in a way that glorifies Him and doesn't bring glory or attention to ourselves or to man. You know, this is the great calling of His followers, and we who follow Christ must live in this way. Again, we thank you for listening. I hope this is an encouragement to you, and again, have a great day. Thank you.